out of the gates with hot takes left, right, and center. That's when I think he's going to do his best work.
Oh, I know you're trying to be sarcastic, but I'm going to pretend you're serious. Okay, spawning over in the bottom left-hand side, the Russian, now living in Polish player, it is Rail. Yeah, Kevin, I know, I messed up.
And in the top right side, we are looking at the main base of the Danish player, now living in Danish, representing Storm Gaming. It is MaxPax.
You know, sometimes it's called word vomit, okay? Sometimes it just comes out. Oh.
It's okay, yeah. Benny.
These things happen. Yeah, these things happen. All right. Oxide, PvP. I mean, we knew that MaxPax was always going to one-gate fast expand, regardless of the map, pretty much. And, you know, this is the one-gate fast expand map, so it makes sense that Rail's going for it as well. And the deviations that we see so far, MaxPax not yet going for the second gas. What does this usually indicate here? Oh, he goes for it just a bit later.
Yeah, just a little bit later. I don't know, could be personal preference. I'm actually kind of sad that we get to see Oxide first, because I really think it's a work of art to see MaxPax get away with his one-gate fast expand on the low ground on a Light Shade or a 2K. Any of those maps, it's just really fun stuff. Even Beckett, man, he looks bulletproof on Beckett. Don't ask me how. It feels like he should be in trouble, but the man never is in trouble. But on this map, it feels that most Protoss players have mastered the one-gate fast expand. It's just kind of the right way to play.
Yeah, it's so hard to punish. Like, I did see Parding's style where he actually, like, 12 pyloned against Estrella, I think it was, which I was like, oh, why don't more people do that? There must be a reason, right? Like, it can't work every time, but that was the first time I've seen it super shut down. It seems pretty solid at defending everything. I mean, your tech's so much faster because, you know, you don't have the second gate.
Yep, and then obviously, well, the tech is often a little bit later, but then defender's advantage comes into play, right, if they are being aggressive. And having double chrono just makes all the difference. Even if your opponent goes for offensive Void Ray Rush, they may have the first Void Ray a bit quicker and the second Void Ray, but that doesn't mean they can fight your Void Ray near a battery. Battery overcharge is super powerful. We all know that. I mean, I look at this right now, Ben. Can you explain to me why MaxPax has a quicker Stargate and a quicker Nexus?
This is what I was thinking too, Kev. I was like, okay, I see the Nexus going down and the Stargate, and I was like, Rail, what have you spent money on? And it was like, nothing. And I was like, what? I just don't get it.
A Zealot and a Stalker, I guess.
Yeah, so like Maxpax skipped the Zealot entirely, starts the Adept way later as well, after the Nexus and Stargate. So he saw something that he felt he could get away with, and he absolutely could, and starts off with a Phoenix straight away. So he cut some corners, but it all looks like it makes sense right now.
You think that Rail lets that battery finish up? Okay, no, he cancels it. But now one Adept is going to sneak in, and it wouldn't be a MaxPax Adept if it didn't find one or two probes. He cancels the Shade at first. Now he's going to be too late. I actually wouldn't have hated if he would have gone for it here, but I guess he doesn't really need to take any risks.
Kevin, look at that. A Phoenix game from both of them here. Like, I mean, this is your bread and butter, isn't it?
Yes, but Rail is not really going to commit. I wonder if he's going to try to drop a very quick Dark Shrine as well. It almost feels like maybe that's his game plan. No, he's going to go for Blink. That makes me a little bit sad, because with Blink, he's basically going to try to straight up outplay MaxPax. And I just have a hard time believing that Rail currently, with his lack of practice and focus on the job, focus on the family, really wants to be embracing the late game. I would have loved it if he just made it seem like, hey, it's Phoenix against Phoenix, and then suddenly, surprise, here are very quick DTs. That kind of stuff could really work. A Blink transition, I'm afraid it's not going to work.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be tough. Right now, MaxPax is just trying to figure out what exactly is going on, so he dives in here. We'll see the Twilight Council blinking away, which is usually very indicative of Blink. I mean, this could get a little... Okay, it's only one Phoenix actually out for Rail here, so can't really do anything. This shield battery's taking a bit of a beating as well.
Yep, from the one Adept. MaxPax is going to drop a Robo immediately. Obviously, never bad. And I do think he's a little bit concerned about maybe a probe somewhere in the corner of the map that has a Dark Shrine currently in progress. We know that's not the case. MaxPax is even getting a Forge too. Yeah, this is not looking too good for Rail, because he's going to be stuck on two bases for a while. Even when Blink is done. Like, okay, by the time he has three bases fully saturated, he has lost, I think at that point, probably 15 to 20 probes. It's almost inevitable that that is going to happen. And of course, MaxPax is no stranger to Phoenix Immortal, the good old Protoss mech comp. I just don't really know where this is supposed to go for real. And it's looking worse and worse with each passing second.
This just feels like MaxPax is a bully, man. Like he's just picking the legs off of both continuously, and there's not really much Rail can do. I mean, now's his time where it's like, okay, Blink's going to be done, so maybe you can catch a Phoenix or something, but still, the dream is... It's looking real bad right now, because MaxPax, like, these Phoenix are just going to get continuous value.
Yep. MaxPax is a bit of a bully, man. He's been taking my ladder points with his Terran as well, so absolutely.
He's been watching my stream being like, okay, how do I beat Protoss? And I'm like, yeah, just do a 3-racks all in, buddy, every time. Has he been doing that to you?
No, yeah, a little bit. Yeah, he's been 3-rexing. And he also has been proxying me, and I said, aren't you ashamed of yourself? And he said, no, I'm bothered by the fact that you never scout. I was like, oh my god, what is this? A mini Benjamin Baker?
Oh my god, he's been watching me too much, Kevin. That's also one of my plays, you know? Oh, okay, so this, like it's a hallucination Oracle. I mean, it could have been cool to get some reaction going, but yeah, MaxPax just looks solid. Like his army's starting to get really strong as well. Still got the Phoenix on the map, and he's got the Observer out. He's fully aware of what Rail's doing. And soon he's going to have an army that's just made for dishing out damage to Stalkers.
I gotta say, I really love how low on energy all these Phoenixes are. Like, how many times don't we see high-level games where it's like, ooh, 6-7 Phoenixes, almost 200 energy? And sometimes it makes sense, right? Because sometimes you're just forced to be defensive. You have to respect the possibility of your opponent attacking you, and then you need some energy. But there have often been moments as well where I'm like, man, I wish that some of these pros were a bit more active with their Phoenix. Well, we definitely can't say that MaxPax hasn't been active, man. He's been doing an amazing job in keeping these Phoenixes low on energy. 16 probes have already gone down. MaxPax has lost 1 probe in this entire game.
Yeah, it's insane. Maybe one Phoenix does go down. I just checked out the resources lost tab too. Not as bad as I thought it was going to be, but still, it's, you know, pretty in favor of MaxPax. He's picked off so many workers for these Phoenix, and yeah, now he's taking a 3rd base as well.
I mean, once you're ahead economically, ahead in army supply, and ahead in upgrades, you know things are pretty good. And it's not just that his army supply is bigger, his army supply is better. He's got 3 Immortals, he's got Zealots with charge. Rio is doing the absolute best he can, but feels that MaxPax is just an unstoppable train band that's not going to be derailed by somebody throwing something on the train tracks.
Yeah, like a little stick or something. That would really screw that train up, right? Good and proper. I mean, I'm looking at this game, Kev, and I'm looking at that army, and I'm like, hey, that looks a bit like some Protoss mech over here. MaxPax really innovating.
Oh my god. Yeah. I mean, I like to tease that young Danish man that he's been copying my strategies forever, but he's obviously doing it better than I've anyone seen do it before. 5 workers go down here. Will's gonna do his best, and I gotta say, I like what he's doing with the Stalkers. He's been activating the barriers. He is gonna blink on top of all 3 Immortals, but the Zealot count is so high too. So even if Will does get all the Immortals, I feel like the Zealots are going to be an even bigger issue. That Archon has done a phenomenal job in soaking up a lot of damage as well. And just like that, it is the young Danish phenom MaxPax who takes the 1-0 lead. Just looked good, man. His understanding and his early game knowledge of PvP is actually second to none. Like, I feel whatever game it may be, 4 minutes in, I'm like, it's good for MaxPax. Like, never like, okay, he's so far ahead that he's gonna win. But he just knows when to build a unit, when to cancel a unit, knows when he needs to scout for something extra, knows when he needs a second battery or no batteries at all. His early game is so good. And it's something that's hard to hype up because nothing happens, but it's like the meme, you know, you blink, you're like, how's he ahead? Again, how is he always ahead? But really smart kid.
Yeah, it's so hard to explain for somebody that doesn't quite know the Protoss build super well, because you have to be safe against everything, and you also have to get into a game against anything as well. So you have to really skirt this, it's this tightrope walk of doing everything perfect. And if you do one thing wrong, you could absolutely die at any point. Second map with Jagannatha, and he's probably going to go for it again, but trying to explain how many choices Protoss have. Like, most people obviously go for the Zealot in this situation to make sure they don't get blocked. When do you go for it? He didn't this game. Very often he will. Then it'll be an Adept second. And then it's like, do I go for the wall off here at the natural or not? Very often he does go for the wall. Sometimes he doesn't. But he always seemingly makes the right choice. So he's just picking up on little things, or just... he's obviously very knowledgeable when it comes to, okay, this could be a problem, so I'll make sure that this won't be a problem. And it's just very matter of fact for him.
Yeah, and like he only needs to see a little bit of your army or a little bit of the saturation of a mineral line, and it feels like he almost knows exactly where he's at in a game. He knows when he can do more damage or when he should do more damage, and also knows how to tone it down a notch if he feels like things are going fine and it's more likely that he's about to be the one that's going to be attacked. It really is fun to watch MaxPax play PvP, a matchup that a lot of people at home consider to be very random. When you watch this young man go at it, it really doesn't feel that random. He's just incredibly good at it. Let's see what Game 2 has in store for us. So we are looking at the main base of the man who's taken a 1-0 lead, hailing from Denmark, living in Danish. It is MaxPax. I had to do it.
Don't worry, I'm going to do it again. And hailing from Russia, but living in Polish, it is Rail.
Mate,
Felt even better the second time.
People are going to tune in for the first time ever, and they're going to think we're the biggest baboons on this planet.
I mean, they'd be right.
Yeah, true.
I mean,
hey, look at Real. Look at Real. He's also going for a pylon on the low ground. That's cool.
I mean, that is brave, man. He's going up against the god of it, and he's like, you know what? I'm going to go for it too. And to be fair, if he just, I mean, I like it. I like the fact like he's standing up to the challenge.
I like it as well. And once more, for the people that joined later that maybe don't pay attention to the pre-show because you guys don't care about our chitty chat, Rail did send me a message and he said, please let the people at home know that I am not practicing as much. I moved from Russia to Poland and I've been working very hard. I'm living here together with my family, but I'm going to do my best to take a map, but please don't hype me up because I simply do not play as much as I did once upon a time. But I like it as well, Benny. Why not? Why not do the same thing as the other guy is doing? That clearly seems to work for him because he's got the highest win record in PvP at this point, if you ask me. Cool.
Yeah, like the only people I've seen kind of give MaxPax a hard time so far is some of the Koreans. Like, I remember him going up against Zaun. I don't specifically remember what happened, but I was like, oh, that's why you don't one-gate fast expand. Obviously, latency and stuff can come into play massively when you're depending on it so much kind of thing. But yeah, this game already turning out a little bit different here. MaxPax is going to go for the Zealot this time. Both of them getting a scouting going off and a little bit of pylon blocks so far for Rail here.
Yep. So I can only assume that MaxPax is going to let his Zealot finish up because obviously you want to have the DPS to potentially work on that pylon and maybe even on the Cybercore. And MaxPax does decide to just build the Stargate immediately. Now I'm actually quite curious to see what Rail is going to do. He's going to drop the Stargate as well. It's just going to be a little bit later. That is a full wall off, right? Or is there a little gap on the left side of the Cybercore?
Full wall off right there. So I wouldn't be surprised if MaxPax cancels the Adept. He did it. Oh, he did cancel it. So realizing like, yeah, okay, that full wall off, I can't really get much done. And he did use a chrono boost to try and get that Adept out. So these are just some of the little things where he's like, oh, what am I going to get done with that? Might as well cancel it.
It is a bit odd, right, that Rail makes a Stalker. That is an expensive unit and obviously costs quite a few resources early on, but then goes for a full wall of himself. Like, sure, it keeps you safe against Adepts, I guess, but it is kind of an investment to just have it stuck in your main base. I feel like MaxPax for a split second started up an Oracle, but then he changed his mind and he decided to go Phoenix again, right?
Maybe. I'm not entirely sure. It's you have to be so paying attention at all times to see what these guys are producing and when. Because PvP, even though it has become this, like, you know, one gate fast expand meta, at least with ramps and stuff, the amount of choices that you have, it's actually huge.
Yeah, well, I'm 99% sure that I saw an Oracle on the production tab and he just changed it into Phoenix immediately. I kind of like how MaxPax just has that Zealot standing in front of the base of Rail. This is like a movie scene, you know, where he looks up to the gates and he's like, open the gates. Like, well, that's probably not gonna happen, but it looks cool.
Except he's facing the other way. It's like, oh, there's a gate behind me. Oh, that's my enemy behind me in that gateway. Oh, okay. But at least he gets to see continuously like what's being produced here, so he knows he's in a Phoenix war, which is, I mean, that's one benefit of having.
He's gonna show. Okay, but now it's 3 against 2 Phoenixes. I kind of like what MaxPax was doing there, hoping that Rail would be a bit too eager to take out that Phoenix and would lift that Phoenix when he only, or excuse me, would lift the Zealot when he only has 2 Phoenixes. So then it's only one Phoenix at a time that's shooting. And then if MaxPax just dives on top of his 2 Phoenixes immediately, he would get the early lead in the Phoenix battle and he should be able to win. But Real was very patient and he waited until the Phoenix number 3 spawned. So he did not fall for that debate.
Yeah, I mean, this game's so much better for Rail so far. Like, it didn't just kind of end before it began. And, oh, I was going to say, I really like this Stalker going forward here to pick at the wall. But Rail could have picked off that Stalker, but he was anticipating that MaxPax was kind of baiting him there.
Yeah. You can't really be doing that because Phoenixes deal way more damage to Phoenixes than they deal to any other unit here. Because obviously Phoenixes are light armored, so that means they deal double damage through each other. And if you take one Phoenix out of the occasion because it's lifting, you already lose quite some DPS. MaxPax is thinking about it, but another Phoenix did just pop for Real, and there's that battery finishing up too. So you have to be really careful there if you're Real. I like what MaxPax is doing though. He's setting the traps, but Real is actually not falling for them.
So MaxPax is super gearing up for the Phoenix War, obviously with the second Stargate, Fleet Beacon on the way as well, most likely for the range upgrade with Phoenix. Whereas Rail, he's committed to the Phoenix, getting 6 so far, but also transitioning to Blink, Robo, and a lot of gateways here. This is, like, who do you favor in this situation?
If you would hide the names for me, I'd be like, I kind of like this for the Red Protoss, actually. Because it's really hard in general to transition out of Phoenix against Phoenix. But I think that Rail has done a phenomenal job in making it seem like he is not transitioning out of Phoenix against Phoenix, but he actually is. But this is something that MaxPax is not aware of yet. And if MaxPax was aware of it, then he would not have been dropping that Fleet Beacon. And I don't think he'd be going for any Impulse Crystals at this point. I actually think this is looking very, very promising for Rail.
Yeah, I mean, like the first game, we didn't really get to see Rail perform. This game, though, like the Resources Lost tab, it's in his favor for sure. MaxPax is now taking a third and what have you. Is Rail just literally going to go for like some 2-base bust here and like really surprise him?
Yeah, I think that's what it's going to be. Now, it's still going to be a very difficult fight for Rail, though, because what I said before still counts. Phoenix deal double damage against Phoenixes. So the Phoenixes of MaxPax are going to be able to take out the Phoenix of Rail very quickly, especially once any Impulse Crystals is done, and then try to keep your Warp Prism alive. That's going to be very hard. I mean, on paper, I liked it for Rail, but now that I think more about it, I'm like, MaxPax is a god. He's going to find a way to just pick off the Prism, pick off maybe the Phoenixes, and then just make it almost impossible for Rail to run to the other side of the map, even if he has Blink.
Oh, I like what MaxPax did here, though. Like, ran in to immediately snipe some of those Phoenix. Gets 3, I think, for just 1, which is a big deal, because those Phoenix of Rail are good at dealing damage to these Phoenix as well.
I actually think it would have been better for Rail to just put his Phoenixes in the top left side and try to fly them into the main and just lift as many probes as possible. And while that is happening, run to the other side of the map with your Stalkers and your Prism. Because part of the army, they just don't do anything because the Phoenixes of MaxPax are going to outrange yours by quite a bit.
Yeah, definitely. Like, the only thing it does, I guess, is the Phoenix take a little bit of damage before the Warp Prism, which is nice, but, I mean, they're going to die real fast to this amount of Phoenix.
Yep, we have 2 Void Rays out already, 2 extra Void Rays are on the way from MaxPax. Yep, and Immortals are in production. All that MaxPax really needs to do here is hold. If he holds, he pretty much wins the game. He knows that, and he also knows that this attack is coming. He's got quite a bit of static defense as well. Now, keeping that third Nexus alive is going to be hard, but MaxPax knows that even 2-base against 2-base favors him, and he can just kill the Phoenixes here of Rail. Not quite sure why he wasn't doing that yet.
He sent 2 Adepts to the other side of the map, so while this is going on, he is going to be trying to harass. We see some probes falling on the other side of the map now. Rail does warp in, and we'll be able to deal with them. That's a lot of Stalkers, like a huge amount, but there will be a few Immortals here. There's a cannon, there's Shield Battery Overcharge as well, but it's going to be so hard to engage. I think Rail's actually doing this pretty damn well.
Yeah, he's taking his time. He's got the bigger army, but we know how these Phoenix fights go, right? Once the Phoenix player starts winning the fight, they're actually not going to lose a unit anymore because they're just going to lift everything. Don't forget that these Phoenixes have a tremendous amount of energy, but I like what he's been doing with the Force Fields, and I like how he's just kind of chipping away at these front buildings. It definitely looks somewhat promising, and not a good Force Field goes down. I do believe 1 Void Ray has already been picked up. I mean, it is now or never, because if this game stabilizes, Rail's going to lose all his workers against the Phoenixes in a longer game. So this is it, Benny. He's going to send it, and he's got a lot.
He's got a ton here, Kev. I mean, the Phoenix go down. This position by MaxPax was really nice. I love the Immortal hallucination there, just pretending he's got more than he does. MaxPax really, like, it's like a bird, right? Showing his feathers, like really puffing up a little bit. But Rail, he realizes there's a third over here. He's very all in with this. Doesn't have a third on the way, but holy crap, it's so much.
Yep. Oh, there's the forward blink. We do have battery overcharge, prismatic alignment activated. MaxPax decides to go for the mass lift, which means that his Phoenixes are not dealing that much damage now. It's mostly about the Void Rays. The Void Rays have been doing a good job, and then somehow one Immortal survived on the low ground, Ben.
I don't know how that happened. Both losing about 30 supply in that fight.
Oh, the Robo.
Resource lost. Oh, that Robo, the Robo. Oh, that's actually big.
That's very big, because that Immortal was about to pop as well. Real is still knocking on the front door here. He goes for another crazy forward blink. Prismatic alignment on one of the Void Rays, but Real does a great job in targeting it down. And I think he's done it. He has actually done it with a ridiculous amount of Stalkers, just like that. Real ties up this series with a lot of patience, and not one but two crazy blinks. Very well done.
Yeah, really well done. Like, I really felt that he was doing a good job picking his fights well. I think they both were doing the best they could out of that situation. The force fields, that massive concave of Stalkers, like they were dealing maximum damage at all times. I see you pout your lips a little bit. What are you thinking?
I'm thinking back of that fight, because these are really interesting fights to me, because I've been there many times myself. As some people know, I kind of like the Phoenix, but you always have a choice. When you have like 11 or 12 Phoenixes there, you can either go for a mass lift, where you basically lift 11 units.
Or like 2 or 3, yeah.
Yeah, but it also means that you don't deal any damage with your Phoenix, right? Then you basically only rely on the Immortals in the Void Rays, but that Immortal Void Ray count didn't quite reach a critical number yet. That I actually think that fight probably would have gone better for MaxPax if at best he lives 2-3 at a time. So it's like 3-4, 3-4, 3-4. The moment you kill 1 or 2 Stalkers, like obviously you don't want to have a scenario where you don't lift at all. But I think going for like a 10+ lift, it's like, okay, your units survive a bit longer, but there was still way more firepower in all those Stalkers than there were in the Void Rays and the Immortals. But it's a very tricky fight, and the fact that there were force fields as well just made it really uncomfortable, I think, for MaxPax.
Yeah, I see what you're saying as well. I think once he realized that it wasn't Phoenix versus Phoenix, because he kind of realized decently early, like he got quite a few Void Rays out in Immortal. Yeah. Maybe starting up like a +1 air as well would have helped quite a bit. I
would have insanely much.
It could have changed everything, yeah.
I was actually thinking about that as well. Normally, I will always talk about air upgrades, but in Phoenix against Phoenix, you don't really want to rush +1 air weapons, because it takes the same amount of shot for a 0-0 Phoenix to kill a Phoenix than it takes for a 1-0 Phoenix to kill a Phoenix. So it's not a key priority. But if you suddenly go up against Stalkers, yeah, when you have 12, 13 Phoenix, I believe MaxPax had, and Void Rays, then having +1 air weapons would actually be a phenomenal upgrade to have. So yeah, I think you make a very good point there, Benny.
Well, thank you, Kevin. I learned this from a young Dutch man, not 37 years old at all, that stayed at my place for a little bit of time. And yeah, he taught me how to Phoenix in Phoenix versus Phoenix. And yeah, this advice sticks with me. But yeah, like Void Rays with a +1 with the Prismatic, the Phoenix as well. Like they have 2 attacks, so it's actually 2 damage extra on these Stalkers every time. Yeah. But yeah, I'm with you. I think lifting up just a few would have definitely helped out. But yeah, got to give Rail super credit here. If he isn't practicing that much, and he actually asked who the casters are today that are casting him, just to let them know, like, go easy on me. I'm not playing that much right now. I tell you what, he played pretty well that game.
He played very well. I was a bit surprised that MaxPax was never sharking around for the Warp Prism. Like, he didn't have to send all 10 Phoenix, but if you split off 3 or 4 Phoenix and you pick up that Prism that's just kind of sitting there quite far behind the army, but in a weird way that would make it easier for MaxPax to kill it, right? Because then you're not in any danger of losing Phoenixes to a single blink. Anyways, it was a fun game. And this man now knows that he's got his work cut out for him. He absolutely wants to win here if he wants to keep his hope and dreams alive of finishing top 2 in this group. It is MaxPax.
And the player hailing from Polish, it is Rail.
Wait, what is Rail doing here, Ben?
Yes, when you were introducing MaxPax, I was like, okay, this is the one map that you absolutely should 1-gate fast expand with the 1-gate on the low ground kind of thing. And here he is, not going for the wall off. Definitely interesting.
Yeah, gives me the idea that he's got something very special in store for us, but we'll see. MaxPax is going to send over a probe quite quickly. That's kind of standard on these maps, because if your opponent does have pylon gateway on the low ground, they then you want to block it a little bit as long as you can. MaxPax gets into the main base now, and he's probably like, Pylon? Gateway? What else is there? This almost feels like Rail wants to go for Void Race, but...
I think it absolutely does. Like, you know, it wasn't a 12 pylon or anything. It was like a respectable pylon, I think, from Rail, as his probe count is actually like ahead of MaxPax's right now. So not like super duper all in, but this is kind of close to the one way I have seen this one gate stuff busted. And maybe Rail's just like, you know what? Screw it. Already won a map that's more than I thought I was gonna. Let's see how this goes.
He's got a Zealot on the way. Now, because he revealed this probe, MaxPax will always follow that probe. And it feels that Drill doesn't want to reveal his pylon, but he doesn't really have much of a choice. Is it going to be a Stargate? Yes, it is. Now, MaxPax is very, very good in these kinds of things. He is already mining all the gas in his main base as well. So MaxPax's Stargate is only going to be just a bit later than the Stargate of Real. And I feel like this is always going to favor the defender.
Isn't it amazing? Like, obviously, MaxPax doesn't have a Zealot out, and he's only just started producing his first Stalker here, his first battle unit. But he has a Nexus already up. The Stargate's not too far behind. I'm always like, okay, how does Rail plan on winning this? Because he's going to attack with like the same number of units, basically, except it's going to be Photon or Pylon Overcharge or Battery Overcharge against Not.
Yes. I guess Rail's going to get a couple of batteries up on the low ground as well, right? That's the only thing that I can imagine, because not building any batteries on the low ground is going to make it almost impossible. I have to say that these Void Ray against Void Ray fights, man, they can be very funny. Like, I know MaxPax is an expert in them, and he's done this time and time again, but I always have a hard time calling these fights. I always have a hard time figuring out how the hell are you supposed to know when to commit, right? Because sometimes it feels like you're getting a Void Ray kill, but then you don't, and then suddenly you end up losing a Void Ray. So this is going to be quite wild. And MaxPax even gets a Forge as well.
I think that's pretty cool, man. Because if there's... Oh, look at that.
This is really bad for Real. It's really bad. It's really bad. You can't lose your Void Ray. He's going to lose the Void Ray. I mean, that's a game-ending mistake, actually.
Super game-ending. And I love that MaxPax stopped the prismatic alignment as well, realizing... better chase that Void Ray down and kill it because they're the same speed.
Yep, he did that so quickly, didn't break the leash as well. Very well done. Real does have one more Void Ray, but MaxPax is about to be a full Void Ray up. Double prismatic alignment about to show up here for MaxiPaxi. And he is going to try to hunt it down. Doesn't quite get the kill this time, but he is going to be able to pick up one of these batteries. I mean, these fights are so random to me, but I do know that losing a Void Ray is very bad, man.
Super bad. I mean... Rail at this point, he would have had two Stalkers that can move around, which would have been very nice to help out, but still, I don't like battery overcharge hasn't been used yet for MaxPax, and that's really the thing that will sway this if the Void Ray wasn't lost from Rail. But man, I don't know what Rail does from here besides just keep on trying.
He's getting a couple of extra Stalkers, so that's kind of interesting. He does have Warp Gate, but I mean, it's cannons, batteries, and multiple Void Rays for the defender MaxPax here. And let's not forget about high ground advantage as well. There really is just no way for Real to ever break this. There is the green battery, as Bly would call it. Another Void Ray falls and bites the dust. And this one is just all over. There's absolutely no way that Real is ever going to break MaxiPaxi here. Real knows it, MaxPax knows it, and everyone at home knows it as well. It won't be the 2-0 that we thought it was going to be, Benny, but it's going to be a 2-1. For MaxPax instead.
Yeah, really well played by MaxPax in that third game there.